The air crackles with anticipation, not in a grand stadium, but in the austere, rugged terrain of the North Caucasus. Here, the thud of a body hitting the mat, the sharp crack of a punch, the primal roar of a crowd, these are more than just sounds of sport. They are the echoes of a way of life, a path to power, and a grim crucible for a new kind of army. At the heart of this formidable landscape stands Ramzan Kadyrov, the enigmatic, iron-fisted leader of Chechnya. He is a man who governs with absolute authority, outwardly loyal to Vladimir Putin, yet operating with a chilling autonomy that grants him a personal fiefdom. His public image is meticulously crafted, a formidable strongman and a fervent patron of combat sports. But beneath the veneer of athletic prowess and regional stability, a darker truth emerges, one that intertwines the sweat of the training gym with the blood of the battlefield. How has this warlord, sanctioned by the West and accused of unspeakable human rights abuses, transformed the very essence of martial arts, a symbol of discipline and personal triumph, into the bedrock of his personal fighting force? How does the octagon, a stage for athletic competition, become a training ground for the front lines of war? This is the story of how Ramzan Kadyrov is building an army, one powerful strike, one relentless grapple, one young man at a time. The North Caucasus, a region defined by its formidable mountains and deep valleys, has for centuries been a crossroads of empires and cultures. Dagestan, whose very name means mountain country, and its neighboring republic, Chechnya, share a long, brutal history of resistance against external powers, most notably the Russian Empire. This perpetual state of conflict fostered a profound warrior spirit and a culture where martial prowess was not merely admired, but considered essential for survival. From the Khazars invading in the 6th century to subsequent struggles involving Arab and Persian forces, Dagestan's strategic location ensured constant external pressure and a relentless cycle of invasions. These invasions were consistently met with fierce, often localized, resistance. The mountainous terrain provided crucial natural defenses, enabling smaller communities to hold out against larger, more organized forces. The Khanate of Avaristan, a local power, even managed to repulse attacks from the formidable Nadir Shah of Persia in the 18th century, demonstrating the enduring spirit of defiance. This constant state of defense, ingrained over centuries, fundamentally shaped a pervasive warrior ethos among the people of the region. The 19th century brought an intensified struggle as the expanding Russian Empire sought to control the Caucasus. Dagestani territories were formally annexed by Russia through treaties in 1813 and 1828. But this was far from peaceful. It was met with fierce and prolonged resistance from the Highlanders, spurred by heavy taxation, the expropriation of ancestral lands, and the strategic construction of Russian fortresses. This period saw the rise of remarkable leaders, most notably Imam Shamil, who became a pivotal military and political figure. For decades, Shamil united diverse groups, including Avars and Chechens, against the formidable Russian advance. His strategic brilliance and ability to forge unity among previously disparate communities allowed the resistance to engage in extraordinary guerrilla warfare for over 2 decades against the Tsarist Russian army. This protracted and brutal conflict against a formidable and technologically superior empire served to refine and elevate their martial prowess. The necessity of sustained guerrilla warfare against overwhelming odds forced innovation in tactics, discipline, and unity, further solidifying their inherent readiness for battle. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 plunged Russia, and particularly its peripheral regions like Dagestan and Chechnya, into profound economic chaos. Factories crumbled, industries geared towards defense and heavy production ceased, and the extensive social services once provided by the state evaporated. Dagestan, once reliant on a government-centered economy, saw its heavy industry decline drastically, with over 25% unemployment overall and a staggering 73% of the population living below the poverty line. Chechnya, ravaged by 2 brutal wars with Russia, fared even worse, with 70% of its youth unemployed. This created a desperate void for young men, with limited legitimate economic opportunities. In Chechnya, the stark alternatives for young men were often framed as, if you aren't a fighter, you become a soldier, or you become an elder. There's nothing else. Against this backdrop of economic despair, combat sports, particularly traditional wrestling and sambo, a Soviet-era self-defense martial art, emerged as a powerful pathway to social mobility and financial stability. These disciplines were deeply ingrained in the regional culture, often passed down through generations. Dagestan, in particular, managed to maintain its wrestling schools even after the Soviet collapse, producing an unprecedented number of Olympic and world champions. Fighters like Khabib Nurmagomedov became local heroes, epitomizing the aspirational pathway out of poverty and inspiring countless young men. Local governments and private sponsors recognize this potential, investing significant support in training facilities and events, thereby creating a robust infrastructure for the growth of mixed martial arts, MMA. Ramzan Kadyrov's ascent to power is deeply rooted in the bloody aftermath of the Chechen wars. He rose to prominence following the assassination of his father, Akhmat Kadyrov, who was killed in a bomb blast in Grozny in 2004. Ramzan was subsequently appointed leader of Chechnya by Russian President Vladimir Putin in 2007, effectively inheriting his father's mantle. The relationship between Kadyrov and Putin is a critical, transactional one. Putin grants Kadyrov extensive autonomy, vast subsidies, and what has been described as a carte blanche to govern Chechnya with an iron fist. In return, Kadyrov ensures stability in a historically volatile region, effectively keeping separatism and radical elements in check. Kadyrov quickly consolidated his power by assembling a formidable personal army, often referred to as the Kadyrovtsi, or Akhmat. Many of these fighters were former Chechen guerrillas who had previously fought against Russia but were offered amnesty and protection by Kadyrov, effectively obliging them to join his ranks. This force, while technically subordinated to Russian state agencies like the National Guard and Ministry of Internal Affairs, operates with a unique degree of independence, acting as Kadyrov's personal security and enforcement arm. Under Kadyrov's rule, the Kadyrovtsi have been widely accused of widespread human rights abuses, including kidnapping, forced disappearances, torture, and extrajudicial killings. Critics assert that these methods are employed to cement Kadyrov's autocratic rule and suppress any form of dissent. Both the United States and the European Union have imposed sanctions on Kadyrov and his family due to these credible reports, specifically citing torture and extrajudicial killings. Kadyrov has consistently responded to these sanctions with defiance and declaring his acceptance of the fight against international criticism. Kadyrov's position can be viewed as that of a necessary evil for Moscow. His power is explicitly tied to Putin's patronage and a transactional relationship. This arrangement highlights a deliberate strategic choice by the Kremlin, and even implicitly sanctioned because they serve a specific geopolitical purpose, pacifying a historically rebellious region. Furthermore, Kadyrov's system is characterized by a profound personalization of power and loyalty. His army is consistently described as personal, and his allegiance is directed towards Putin as an individual, rather than to the Russian state as a whole. He actively recruits former rebels by offering them amnesty, thereby binding them directly to him. This system bypasses traditional state structures, creating a deeply personalized power vertical, where loyalty is not to institutions or a national ideal, but to the individual Kadyrov. This makes his regime internally resilient in the short term, but also potentially unstable in the long run, particularly if the personal connection between Putin and Kadyrov falters, or if a succession crisis arises. It represents a feudal-like system operating within the framework of a modern state. In 2014, Ramzan Kadyrov founded Fight Club Akhmat, FCA, named after his father, Akhmat Kadyrov. Initially focused on developing boxing talents, the club rapidly expanded to become one of Russia's main sports clubs by late 2016, incorporating mixed martial arts into its purview. FCA is far more than just a sports club. It belongs to the administration of the Chechen Republic, with Kadyrov himself considered its primary owner. Kadyrov masterfully uses sports, and FCA specifically, to promote Kadyrov-centric vision of Chechen identity and to bolster his image both domestically and internationally. This is an integral part of a broader authoritarian ideology known as the Path of Akhmat, which aims to control every aspect of Chechen life, from work and history to culture and sports. Chechen sportsmen are actively encouraged to use the slogan Akhmat Sila, Akhmat is power, a phrase that resonates throughout the Republic and is widely used by Kadyrov's family, government officials, and soldiers. This slogan serves as a powerful tool for unifying the state and its people around an official history that presents Akhmat Kadyrov as the savior of Chechnya. Kadyrov himself actively leverages social media, sharing videos and images of himself training to project an image of virility, strength, and closeness to his people, further reinforcing his cultivated persona. Beyond personal image, MMA serves as a crucial instrument for dynastic propaganda. Kadyrov frequently showcases his sons boxing and practicing MMA with popular sports figures, even engaging them in controversial child cage fights that have drawn international criticism. The objective is clear: to demonstrate the cross-generational fitness the Kadyrov family, presenting his sons as strong, brave, combat-ready, and fiercely patriotic, thereby legitimizing them as future leaders of Chechnya. Kadyrov has built an entire economy around MMA. In a region with few job prospects, fighting becomes a path out of poverty. Top fighters receive government-funded salaries, luxury cars, mansions, and sponsorships, status symbols flaunted online to fuel the dreams of Chechen youth. It's a tool of political loyalty. Fighters enter Kadyrov's inner circle through cash rewards and public admiration, an engineered system that controls aspirations and rewards obedience. It glorifies strength, obedience, and unity under Kadyrov's rule. The line between fighter and soldier is thin, and those who fall short are folded into Kadyrov's war machine. FCA gyms double as recruitment hubs for Kadyrov's private army. Fighters who don't make it professionally often end up as soldiers. Sport, politics, and identity are fused into one system, designed not just to entertain, but to control. Through MMA, Kadyrov polishes his image. He promotes discipline, fitness, and patriotism, while masking the brutality of his regime. This is sports washing, using global admiration for combat sports to distract from human rights abuses. Kadyrov's system is self-sustaining. He uses sport to create loyalty, propaganda to build myth, and war to consolidate power. His Warlord Inc. model now operates far beyond Chechnya. The story of Ramzan Kadyrov and his MMA army is a chilling testament to the enduring human capacity for resilience, ambition, and adaptation in the face of hardship. But it is also a stark warning that in the shadows of economic despair and political ambition, even the most celebrated arenas of sport can be repurposed into the training grounds for war, forging not just champions, but an army beholden to a single warlord. The roar of the crowd, it seems, can echo just as loudly on the battlefield.